وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Respected and dignified management of Ashabul Jannah Institute and my dear Islamic sisters and brothers. Firstly, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving me this opportunity to express few things in front of you. So today we are going to delve into a topic that has dramatically shaped our modern world. That is the impact of social media on our society. Yes, we all know that social media platforms have become an integral part of our lives, revolutionizing the way we communicate, access information, and engage with one another. So in this lecture, we will explore the various impacts of social media, both positive and negative, across different aspects of our society and in Islamic perspective. So without being late, we start our lecture. When we look into the Holy Quran, Allah Rabbul Izzah stated that أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم والخيل والبغال والحمير لتركبوها وزينة ويخلق ما لا تعلمون. And he created the horses, mules, and donkeys for you to ride, and as adornment, and he creates that which you don't know. When we try to understand this ayat, when we critically think about this ayat, Allah Rabbul Alameen said 1400 years ago to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Allah is going to create the things which they don't know. I mean, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions and the people of the time, they don't know what are the things that are gonna be created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the future. So Allah Rabbul Alameen stated this verse 1400 years ago. Now we can see in our lives that this ayah, this verse is completely understandable for us, that Allah Rabbul Alameen has created many things for us. He made our lives very easier. Day by day, we try to invent a new thing which will be helpful for us. So among these new inventions, social media is a new invention which we utilize in our daily lives. And when we look into the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet, peace be upon him, he said that summa fitnatun la yabqa baytum min al-arabi illa dakhalathu, an affliction which no Arab house will escape. What is meant by this hadith? That means in future there will be a fitna which is going to enter in Arab's house. In this hadith, Prophet had described that Baytum min al-Arab. When we look into the other narration, we clearly note that the Prophet said that every house, in every house, this fitna, this application is going to enter. And nowadays, this saying comes true. We can see that in our house, there is a fitna, an application that with which we are addicted. We can't remove it from our lives. That is internet. That is social media. We are addicted to these things. We can't remove it from our lives. It has become an integral part of our lives. So, the social media has the positive aspects and as well as negative aspects. So we are going to talk about some impacts which the social media has brought to our lives. What are the impacts that social media has brought into our lives? And what aspects of our lives has been affected by it? Firstly, the communication and connectivity. The second thing is information sharing and awareness. Impact on mental health and well-being of the youth. Privacy and data security. Influence on relationships and social dynamics. So we are going to talk about the 5 highlighted topics in this lecture. There are few more impacts, aspects of our lives in which this social media has impacted very much. Those are democratization of voice, business and marketing, social activism and movements. So these are some impacts and some aspects of our lives in which it has impacted very greatly. So we start our conversation with communication and connectivity. The transformative effect of social media on communication and connectivity, it has bridged geographical distances, allowing us to connect and interact with people from around the world. We can connect easily with our relatives who are in other country. If we move to the past, I mean the earlier times, the people were unable to connect and interact with each other from one place to another place. I mean, if a person lives in a town, he can't talk to a person who is in another town. There were many difficulties, but this social media came and it bridged the connections. It removed these difficulties from our lives. It made our connections very much easier. But there are positive aspects. And when we look it through the Islamic perspective, there are some things which we need to concentrate and try to understand those things. How this impact on Islamic principles? I have collected some Islamic principles which are being greatly affected through this social media. So we start with the first principle, that is, we must start our conversation with Assalam. That means Allah has given us a greeting that when we talk or when we converse, when we communicate with each other, we must start our conversation with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Because Allah Rabbul Alameen said in the Holy Quran, وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُمْ بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا. And when you are greeted, respond with a better greeting or at least similarly. That means we must start our conversation with the best greeting. And when a person starts with the best greeting, the another person, he must reply with the better greeting or at least similarly. Whereas we look into the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that وَخَيْرُهُمَ الَّذِي يَبْدَأُ بِالسَّلَامِ, and the better of the two will be the one who greets the other first. That means how we greet the other person. We greet the other person with Assalam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And the another hadith that states that the better and the best aspect of Islam is to feed the hungry and saying salam to those you know and those you don't know. In this hadith, the Prophet clearly stated that we must greet the person whom we know and whom we don't know. So from this verse and this ahadith, we clearly came to know that it is necessary to start our conversation with Assalam. Now we try to understand the saying of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said that Allah the Almighty prescribed that the greeting among the people of Islam should be Assalamu alaikum, which is better than all the greetings of other nations, which includes impossible ideas or lies, such as saying, may you live for 1,000 years, or things that are not accurate, such as an ama sabahan, sabah al khair, or actions that are not right, such as prostrating in greeting. So this sentence and this saying clearly says that Allah has chosen for us. It means the people of Islam, for them Allah has chosen the greeting that is Assalamu alaikum. This is the best greeting in the world and hereafter, because when the Ahlul Jannah, the people of paradise, enter the paradise, they start their conversation with salam, Assalamu alaikum. And this greeting which Allah has chosen for us, it is the greeting of the people of paradise. So we must try to start our conversations with this. But what we see in our lives, what is happening in our daily lives, what we do is we start our conversation with hello. We start our conversation with hi. And we end up our conversation with bye, goodbye. And we end up our conversations with good night. What are these things? From where these things are coming into our lives? Why we are moving far from Islamic culture? What is impacting on our lives? When we look into our lives, that thing is social media. Because this social media has the information and has the content of all the old and every nation. And people try to view that content and they try to practice in their lives. They are trying to practice the Western culture and they are moving far from Islamic culture. This is why we are moving far from Islamic culture and we are starting our conversations and ending up our conversations with good morning, good night, hi, bye. These all things are useless. And when we look at the best greeting which is prescribed for us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we say Assalamu alaikum to a person, that means we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless that person with his blessings. And in reply, that person says, Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That means he is asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us. And when we see this greeting and the other greetings, there is a lot of difference. When we say good morning, there is no such meaning. When we say good night, there is no such meaning. There is no dua in it. then why we are choosing these greetings to start our conversations? We must try to change our lifestyle. We need to come back to the Islamic culture. The virtues of Islamic greetings, you can see on the screen that it spreads peace and love among the people. It's a cause for entering the paradise. It increases your good deeds. It establishes strong bonds between Muslims in the community and unifies them. When a person says Assalamu alaikum to an unknown person, he feels that this person is accepting good from me and he wants to strengthen the bonds. So the fifth thing is it creates a safe and tranquil atmosphere where people can live peacefully. And whereas I said that it is the greeting of the Muslims in paradise, the Ahlul Jannah, they start their conversations with Assalamu alaikum. So we must note this point and we must return to this Islamic principle in our lives. And the second principle, which is impacted greatly through this social media, is good speech. Islam says that you must speak good. When we look into the hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir falyaqul khayran aw liyasmut." Whoever believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the day of the judgment, let him speak good or remain silent. But what we do, we chat with others. We don't remain silent. When we look into our groups, we frequently and rapidly start chatting about others or start chatting about the content which is unnecessary. La ya'ni, which is unnecessary. We are talking about these things in our groups, with our relatives, with our friends, etc. So we must look at this hadith that when we speak, we must speak good. And if we can't speak good, we must remain silent. And the third principle is prohibition of backbiting. Allah Rabbul Alameen clearly stated in the Quran, وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. And do not backbite one another. Would any one of you like to eat the flesh of their dead brother? You would despise that. That means Allah has prohibited upon us to not to backbite about another person. When a person backbites about another person, that means he is eating his dead brother's flesh, and it is not liked by everyone. If you like to eat your brother's flesh, you can backbite about another person. So we must fear Allah and be conscious to Allah, and we must try to protect ourselves from backbiting. But what this social media is doing and what is impacting on our lives is when we open our groups on WhatsApps, Facebooks, Instagrams, we talk about another person who is not in the group, and we talk about him, the things which are not to be mentioned in that group, which are not to be mentioned about him in the group, which is called backbiting. So we must think about the akhirah, we must think about the life hereafter, and we must fear Allah, and we must protect ourselves from this, and we must return to the Islamic principles. And the fourth principle is unity and brotherhood. When we try to understand the social media has bridged the connections, it made the connections easier for our relatives. We can talk to our relatives by tapping on a button. But what we see that we just hold a smartphone, we sit on a laptop and just we scroll and view the content which is on the social media, and we waste our time. We can connect with our relatives, we can interact with them. But what we are doing, we are just scrolling on the web. We are wasting our time. We are not strengthening our bonds. We are making it very weak. Allah has given us the ni'mah, but we are not utilizing it. When we look into the hadith, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man ahabba an yubsata lahu fi rizqihi wa an yunsa'a lahu fi atharihi falyasil rahimahu." Whoever loves that he be granted more wealth and that his lease of life be prolonged, then he should keep good relations with his kith and kin. When a person likes more wealth and he likes that his lifespan must be increased, then he must keep good relations with his relatives. But we are not utilizing this opportunity and we are making ourselves busier in scrolling and viewing the content which is on the social media. So we must try to cover this Islamic principle. We must try to unite and we must try to keep good relations with our relatives. And next, we are moving forward to the next topic, that is information sharing and awareness. Social media has emerged as a prominent source of news and information. It enables us to share and access information rapidly, often breaking news stories ahead of traditional media outlets. It has also become a powerful tool for raising awareness about social, political, and environmental issues. Hashtags and viral campaigns have been instrumental in amplifying important causes and mobilizing support. The social media has given us a platform to share the information very quickly and very rapidly. But there is a problem with information sharing, that is the information which is shared on the social media, it could be beneficial to the people and it could be harmful to the people. When we look through the Islamic perspective, Islam says that seeking knowledge. قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Say, O Prophet, are those who know equal to those who do not know? That means the person who is educated and who is not educated, they both cannot be equal at any cost. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the search for knowledge is an obligation laid on every Muslim. Every Muslim must learn the knowledge. He must search for the knowledge. But how he can search for the knowledge? Allah has given us ni'mat. We can find much information on social media. How the information is shared on social media, we need to verify it. We need to check whether the information which is shared on the social media is authentic or not. So by this we can seek the knowledge. And there are some advantages of online learning, that are flexibility and convenience. That means we can access to the lectures and the content according to our time. When we are free, we can access to the content with our flexibility of time. And this social media offers variety of courses and programs. We can choose a course in which we are interested. We can choose a program in which we are interested. And the cost effectiveness. Many of the platforms and many of the communities offer the courses at affordable cost. We can pay to those courses and we can have access to the courses. After that, we can have access to the expertise. That means there are many institutions who provide the experts in their field. We can access to those expertise people and we can increase our skill development and we can make our career more advanced. These are the advantages of online learning. But there are some disadvantages of online learning. They are limited face-to-face interaction. That means we don't have the community to interact with the people face-to-face and in real time, and we cannot interact with them in real. And self-motivation and discipline is very important because many of us lose the self-motivation and discipline when we try to learn on the online platforms. And many of them don't have the technology, the technical issues. If they have the smartphone, they don't have correct connections, the speedy connections. And when we look at the practical learning opportunities in the offline mode, we get more opportunities to practice the theories, but in the online platform, we don't get more opportunities. We are just limited. And the last thing is lack of focus. This is how when we are watching a lecture on web or the YouTube, when we get a message from WhatsApp, we try to open it and we try to scroll down and check the other messages. Like this, our attention will be dismissed and our focus will be decreased. These are the advantages of online learning. And the second principle is sharing knowledge, that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that man dalla ala khairin falahu mislu ajri fa'ilihi. Whoever guides to good has the like of the reward of the person who actually does it. That means if a person shares a good on social media or to a person directly, he will be rewarded to that. If that person, the other person, try to action on it, try to bring it in action. If the person shares bad with the others, if the other person performs it in his life, we will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of sharing that bad thing to the other person. So when we look into the social media platform, there is beneficial knowledge and there is the knowledge which is non-beneficial, which is harmful. How can we verify that this knowledge is beneficial and this is not beneficial? There are some tips we are going to talk it about later. And the third principle is verification and critical thinking. When we look into our lives, we receive information on many platforms of social media. We don't try to verify that the information is authentic or not, the information is true or not. We just tap on the share button and we share it to the others. When we share it to the others, if the information is wrong, it is not authentic, then we are sharing the information which is harmful, which is based on falsehood. Look into the hadith which is displayed on the screen. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كفى بالمرء كذبا أن يحدث بكل ما سمع. It is enough of a lie for a man to narrate everything he hears. That means if a person narrates everything what he hears, then we must think that the person is a liar. When we try to compare it to the social media, we are just sharing the information. We are not verifying it, whether the information which is being shared to the other person is authentic or not. We are just sharing it. Are we the truthful persons or we are sharing the falsehood and we are in the category of the liars. We must try to understand the situation and look into the ayah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu an tusibu qawman bijahalatin fatusbihu ala ma fa'altum nadimin. O you who have believed, if there comes to you a disobedient person with information, investigate. Allah Rabbul Alameen ordered us to investigate. Then why we are not investigating the information which is received on social media? Why we are not trying to check whether the information is authentic or not? Why we are just sharing it? We need to try to understand these things. And many of us are learning Islamic knowledge on social media platforms. There are many communities, there are many institutions where the Islamic knowledge is being shared. But how we must learn the Islamic knowledge on these social media platforms? There are some tips. They are identify reliable sources. That means we must try to understand that the community and the institution which is giving the courses, which is offering the courses, is that institution is authentic or not. The scholars in that institution are authentic or not. Salafiyul Aqidah or not. Their Aqidah is perfect or not. We must identify it at the first time. And the second thing is we must try to view their courses which are offered by them. And if there is an opportunity to have an virtual Islamic studies circles, we can join it and we can discuss the things with the other people in these virtual sessions. And fourth thing is utilize authentic Islamic literature. There are many literatures in this world which are authentic and which are not. We must try to find out the authentic Islamic literature. How we can find out these things? We need to seek guidance from the knowledgeable scholars. And the other thing is establish a daily routine. And the last thing is after knowing the Islamic knowledge, after seeking the Islamic knowledge, we need to apply it in our daily lives. These are the things to be considered when we seek Islamic knowledge on Islamic platforms. And we are moving forward to the next topic, that is impact on mental health. Nowadays, many of us are facing many problems. Especially the youth is facing many problems about their health. What are those problems? They are comparison. When we see a picture on social media of a person, he is fit enough and we are thinking that he is fit and we are not fit. We must try to understand that Allah Rabbul Alameen has created us perfectly. Allah Rabbul Alameen said, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Allah has created us in a best way. Every person is perfect in his place according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We must not compare ourselves with others. We are perfect in our place. But they are comparing themselves with others to whom they see on the social media. The second thing is cyber bullying and harassment. This thing is increasing day by day. Why this is increasing? Because there is no enough knowledge for us and especially for our sisters who utilize the services of social media. Because lack of knowledge, they are being harassed on these websites, on this social media. And especially, we don't have Islamic knowledge, the knowledge which must we learn. We don't have the knowledge. We must try to learn Islamic knowledge, and we need to try, and we need to understand the technology, how the technology works, how these apps works, what is our data and how our data is being used. And the third thing is fear of missing out. That means we are using a smartphone, we are viewing a content on the web, and we think that a person is happy in that picture and he has his friends beside him, and we think that we are alone, we are not happy, we don't have sources that makes us happy, and we feel that we are missing out. And there are some more mental impacts on our health. Those are body image concerns, sleep disturbances. Many of us use smartphones, desktops, and internet till the midnight. Some of them use till the Fajr Salah, and they don't perform the Salah and they sleep. This is because of the social media, because of the internet. These things are happening around us. And because of lack of time, we are moving forward to the next topic, that is privacy and data security. The main thing on these social media platforms, we need to try to understand that everything what we enter in the social media is being collected by the platform services. That means the app which you use, the information is collected by them. Everything, your chat box, your messages, your photos, your videos, everything is collected by these people who are offering you a service. But when we look in Islam, Islam says that respect for privacy. وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا, and do not spy. But what the social media is doing, they are collecting and tracking us. How they track? There is an example. We are viewing a product on Amazon or Flipkart. We scroll it for some time, and when we move to other app, we see an advertisement about the product which we have recently viewed. How the other app knows that what we have viewed in Amazon or Flipkart? How this is possible? Because the Amazon and the Flipkart, they are sharing the information to the other app. And same, the Google is also sharing the information to the other people. Every platform is collecting our information, our browsing habits, our interests to the other third-party apps. So we need to be serious about these things. We need to understand that our information is being shared to the others. And the second Islamic principle is concealing faults. That means if we see a fault in a Muslim, we must conceal it. When we conceal it, Allah Rabbul Alameen conceals our faults in this world and in hereafter. But when we look this aspect or this principle in the perspective of social media, the data breaches and the security risk. Every data is being shared to the persons whom we don't know. There is an example for this. What happens with our shared information? We are sharing much information on social media. We use chat box, we share messages with our friends, we share videos, we share photos, etc. Everything what is shared, what is happening with this information? There is a best example to understand this. How a social media app grows and earns. We have an example, that is Instagram. It is the free service. Why this is free? Think how it earns billions of dollars. What really matters. The data which is shared by us on these platforms is being sold to a person who is behind the scene. That person buys the data and it offers a billions of dollars to the company. This is how really the social media platforms are growing and earning the money. We are thinking that our data is secured in the privacy policies of the company, the app created. But in real, our data is not secure. Everything, what we share, what we use, everything is being sold to the other persons. So we must be careful when we use these applications in our daily life. We should not share our privacy things, our personal information on these platforms. But our youth is addicted to these social media and they are sharing the every moment, their happiest moment, their saddest moment. Every moment is shared on the social media. We are on track. So we must be careful and utilize the social media carefully. And it has impacted very much on our childhood. Islam teaches us to train the children from their childhood. But what we see that our children, the small children who are growing up and they are the next generation, they are using phones, they are not being trained well, they are being far from the Islamic culture. They don't know what is Islam. They don't seek knowledge about Islam. Then how they gonna be stable? They gonna be steadfast on the Islam after they grow up when they don't have proper knowledge about Islam. This social media, the creators of social media are trying to distract our children from the Islam. When the base of our building is being destroyed, the building automatically destroys itself. When they try to destroy our children in their childhood, they automatically destroy themselves in their future. So this is how it is impacted in our children's life. And when we move further, impact on relationships. In past and in earlier times, to have an haram relationships, a person needs to travel a long distance. But what this social media is doing, it is making these haram relationships very much easier. It is providing apps, it is providing services to perform this haram relationship, to we can say that many of us, that means many of our youth people are utilizing these services and they are trying to destroy themselves by these haram relationships. And the last thing is impact on time management. When we look into our daily lives, we start our day with the Fajr Salah. When we end up our life, just we try to notice the things that how much per day we are using these services, how much time we are utilizing the social media services. You can view it on your phone by yourselves that how much time you have viewed an app. Many of them are using the mobile from the morning to the evening. They are spending their time on the social media platforms. But what they are doing nothing. Just they are sharing the information which is based on falsehood, or they are just time passing on these websites, YouTube and Instagram. They are trying to waste their valuable time. The main thing is Allah has given us a life. This life completes when the time completes. The time which is being destroyed by us, that means we are destroying our lifespan. The time which is given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the time completes, we must return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are wasting the time. We are not utilizing the time to perform the activities, the good deeds, and to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to gain the Jannah. But we are utilizing this time in the other activities which are useless and which are harmful in this worldly life and hereafter. These are some impacts which the social media has impacted on our lives and in our societies. So we must be careful and we must try to live our lives according to Islamic knowledge and Islamic culture. We need to return to the Islamic culture and we need to try to seek knowledge about Islam. There are many institutions providing Islamic courses. You need to find out them and verify them whether they are authentic or not. If they are authentic, try to learn from them and try to increase your Islamic knowledge. At last, I say that Allah Rabbul Alameen said in the Holy Quran, وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ, only a few of my servants are truly grateful. The beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that لا يشكر الله من لا يشكر الناس. He who does not thank the people is not thankful to Allah. So I first thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving me this opportunity to express few things about this social media in front of you. And secondly, I thank the management of Ashabul Jannah Institute for giving me this opportunity to express few things in front of you. And at last, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us a good life and to give us a path and guidance to the straight path. And may Allah Rabbul Alameen bless us with his blessings. Ameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallama ala nabeena Muhammad. فلله الحمد في كل فاتحة وخاتمة.